Hello YouTube friends, Alicia here. So, as you've noticed, I've been doing a lot of destashing videos, and the biggest reason that I'm trying to push this right now is I'm going into the States. And the big thing with going into the States is I can mail priority mail envelopes. If any of you have ever shipped to Canada or from Canada, you know what the shipping is like. So what I'm going to do is I was doing the $10 envelopes before that weren't priority mail, and then it was plus shipping, and I really couldn't stuff them full. I mean, I could make them full to a certain extent, but because of shipping, I was limited to how full I could stuff them. So, I mean, I could fit maybe 50 pieces in there, and then, of course, I added shipping. So, what I'm going to do, and I'm guessing this will be around 100 pieces, depending how big the pieces are. Anyways, I'm going to stuff these right full. I'm going to do $22 plus shipping. So it's about double what you would have gotten otherwise. And then, of course, shipping is included. And I can add things that are more bulky. So that is what this is all about. And yeah, so, oh, and the other thing is I do need to know before Saturday. So if you want an envelope, I need to know by Friday afternoon latest, because I will be leaving Saturday morning for the States. And then it's PayPal only. And of course, I need to receive payment before I ship your item. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the smaller items. Sorry. And then I'll talk about some of the bigger items. I don't have an envelope stuffed. The reason being is because every envelope will be a little bit different, and I don't want people to think, you know, that exact item wasn't in their envelope. But what I have here is some of the smaller pieces. These are in German. I don't know if they're vintage. I don't think so. They're not new, like most of my stuff, because I buy it secondhand, and of course because they came over from Germany. And then I have these little papers, which I love these. These are vintage, I believe, just based on the coloring of them. But they're just plain papers, perfect for backing journaling cards or whatever. These remind me of Diane H, actually. She uses a lot of things like that just to put on paper that's really busy. And when she used to do the smash books, which I used to love, well, I still love, she used things like, you know, this kind of paper. So anyways, totally random. Hi Diane, if you watch. I know you're subscribed. I don't know if you're watching. A popcorn bag, just because they're fun, and I want to do a circus themed journal. So maybe somebody else does. And then these are fun. I think these would be fun in a glue book. Okay, and then there's this, and this is vintage. It is a record card. Some time cards. I will point this out. The time cards in Canada are different than the ones that you get in the States. They are plain on the back, and they're just different. Not that, you know, it makes much difference, but just so you know, they're not the same as ones I've seen stateside. Then this piece, which is just fun, it's like a list that goes down to 32 on both sides, and I use those in my journal fairly regularly. A days of the week chart, which I also think is fun, and I just used in one of my journals. Yeah, just so you guys know, I do use the stuff that I'm destashing, if that's what you want to call it, or, you know, stuff in envelopes with. It's not just random stuff. Some fabric that I have coffee dyed. This was not a new piece either, and it had all these different wildflowers from, I actually think it was Australia. So I cut them apart. Vintage bingo card that is being coffee dyed. Not vintage. Well, I don't know if they're vintage. Let's be honest with these ones. Rolodex cards that I coffee dyed. This is just a coffee dyed time card. So some of the pieces will be coffee dyed. A little bag, and the reason for the little bag is it's stuffed full of stuff. I don't want to just send a bunch of loose stuff. So every kit, provided I remember, will have a little Canada playing card, just for something fun because I'm from Canada. And we'll have some tickets, different playing cards, these ones are vintage. Some of them will be vintage, some of them won't be. I have totes of playing cards, mostly because I like to collect them. We won't talk about that. It's kind of right up there with my totes of lace. Of course, some book pages. Some will be in English, some will be in German. They'll most likely all be vintage. Fabric, these are fabric samples, but I do use these. I use these a lot on the spines of my books because they're, well, this one isn't super thick, but they're thicker, so they work really well as spines. Airmail envelopes. Some little doilies. Oh, this is just a little fabric piece. Library card. I believe these are vintage. I found a huge stash of them at my thrift store, and I don't know where you could buy them anymore because a lot of that is just being completely outdated. These are vintage and they're beautiful. I just picked these up today, so there'll be a couple of these in every kit. I will include those because they're different and they're beautiful. Sorry if you can hear the chainsaw. Not the chainsaw, the bandsaw. They are doing flooring upstairs. And, yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Each kit, until I run out, will include 2 bingo cards. These are very vintage. And they have, not my hometown, but the town I live in stamped on top of them, which is kind of cool. The reason for 2 is I like to make journals out of them because they're perfect size and you can just punch holes and either do a ring bind or a coil binding or whatever you want, because they are really thick. You can peel them apart if you want to use them for ephemera, but that's not what I would do with them just because they're kind of unique. Then of course I have, these are French dictionary pages and they are also vintage. I have those, and then some of this stuff is huge and I didn't want to tear it all apart until I know how many kits I am making, just because if you've ever made kits, you know that they're a lot of work, and nobody's too anxious to do a pile of work for things that don't sell. Okay, so this book is beautiful. It's Mother Goose Treasury, and you can see I paid 25 cents for it. I just used some of the images in my latest journal from this book. And I don't know the publishing date. It is also not new. Oh, okay, 2009. So it's a lot newer than I thought. But I mean, the images are still cute. So. Then I have music paper. This is vintage, as you can see. This is English. I do have High German music book that is vintage, music paper that is vintage as well, that if I find the books, because I have multiples, I will include. I will also include some of these little sweet girls. Let's try to find a different month. Every month has a different image. That is not a girl. But anyways, some of these sweet children images. Okay, and then I'm gonna, oh, you know what, I won't show you that quite yet. I'm gonna show you this. Okay, the reason, like I said, that I haven't taken all this apart and put it in an envelope is it's a lot of work if they don't sell. And I don't want a bunch of loose pieces. So I have, oh, I don't know, 8 wallpaper books. None of them are vintage. Well, I don't know if they're vintage. This one very well could be. I've had it many years. None of them are super vintage. I can put it that way. So this one is just black and white, but I have colored ones. I have wallpaper on rolls and different things like that. So all of them will include a piece of wallpaper, probably multiple pieces. All of them will include ledger paper. I have vintage and non-vintage. This one is thick and large, and as you can see, I am going to have to fold them because it's very large. Sorry, I cannot reach. I'm trying to reach here. Okay, each one will include a large vintage bag. And when I say large, I mean very large. My idea was for this, if I went, I have tons of them, but some of them I'll probably turn into journals because I like doing my personal journal and single signature journals. But my other idea for this was to cut it apart and use it into die cuts because it's almost like a glass scene. It's, I don't know, it's very smooth, it's very pretty. And then I will include an envelope in each size, so a miniature like craft one and then a miniature white one. Well, not miniature, but smaller than the average. And of course I like to turn these into journals. This one of these, I can't remember, makes like a perfect 4x6 journal. And my mom actually filled hers with pictures. She took one of ones I made and it's super cute. I will include some of these, which I also think are super cool, and they're vintage. They're perforated. You can't talk, so I'm not gonna fold them and take them apart because I'll leave them together. And I like those. I think they're fun, and I like the color. These are also very vintage, and they are single-sided and thin. I will include different journaling paper, or printer paper, I guess is the word I want. These are super fun as well. They're a neon orange, which just makes me happy. And they're adhesive on the top, so they're like a post-it note. I just think those are fun, and they're gonna be super fun in my golden book. I forgot I had those. So, I also have some of these, which are fun. I will include a transparency, which is not as random as it seems. They are really fun to, if you cut like a die cutout and you want to use it in negative space, to fill in as a pocket. And I know they're kind of pricey, so I mean, if you don't want to buy a whole case of them, you might only want one or two. Parchment paper. I'll include a couple sheets, which I also know, well, at least in Canada, it's very pricey. And I picked up a huge stack of it at my thrift store, so I have lots to share. This is vintage, and it's really thin paper that I really like. Because I like to print on it and then use it for collage, because it tears really easily. Okay, I am almost done. This video is getting really long. I'm going to just show you these quickly. So, I will be including... Okay, this isn't going to work. I'm on my carpet, so I can just slide things. A couple of these. I have multiple binders of these, and they have beautiful floral images. And the thing with these is if you don't like the images and you don't want to cut them up or include in a journal, they're thick enough to paint on. So, if you watch like Gina at the Rebookery, you'll see that, you know, she'll use things like this. Gail Agostinelli has used these in their journal. So there is different ideas for things like this. If you're thinking, what on earth am I going to do with that? Then I have these, which is another message book. And I like those. I have, these are fun because they're vintage typewriter papers. I have two different styles. I have this style, which is the one I prefer, and I use it fairly often if you watch my journals. And then I have this style, which is, I mean, nice. I like that green. And so, there's that. And then I have these, which are vintage as well. They're sheets of labels that were meant for, I believe, typewriters, once again. I don't know if you can run these ones through your printer because of the wax. I personally haven't tried it. I would. And they're perforated, so you can take them apart. I would try it, and I might and let you know how it goes. The monthly schedule. I like the color of that. I also have this, which is a huge paper, pad of graph paper. I like long papers, as you're seeing, because I like to fold things into pockets. And then I have these, which is vintage book plates. And now I'm almost done. I'm gonna not really go through this, but you'll see why. I have a huge basket of wrapping paper. A lot of it is vintage, some of it isn't, but I will go through and pick out some pieces and like add them to the kits. This one is really pretty. I should show it to you. It is very vintage. And I won't be including this one in the kit because I do not have a lot of it, but it's a needlework pattern and it is so pretty. But anyways, yeah, there's all kinds of different vintage images. This one is Christmas, so that's one of my, oops, sorry about that, weaknesses, because I can get it cheap. Okay, and then I'm going to just show you this really quick. It's a jar of lace. A lot of it is vintage. I would say about 90% of my lace is vintage. And I'm not going to take it all out, but I can take a few pieces out and kind of show you. And I would make sure that they were either decent size or there's multiple pieces, you know, because if I don't have like a large piece, I can't obviously give you a large piece, but if it's really pretty, I might want to include it. So there's lace like this. And it's, oops, it's backwards. It's vintage, it's super soft and pretty. And the coffee dye is really nice because the vintage laces, a lot of them are cotton, so they don't have synthetic material that makes them not want to dye very well. This is another one that's vintage. It is eyelet, and I have a thing for eyelet, if you probably noticed if you watch my journals. Okay, so, oh, and I do have multiple colored laces, so it won't be all cream and white. It will be kind of whatever I grab. Makes it sound like I won't put any thought process into it, but I will. But it'll be whatever I choose for that kit. The other thing that I may include is doilies, real doilies. I have lots of those. It just depends, you know, how much space I have in the envelopes. But this video was plenty long enough. I've talked more than I needed to. So, like I said, they will be $22 shipped. They will be stuffed as full as I can make them. I have about enough envelopes to do 5 kits. So, and they will be going out Saturday. So please, if you are wanting one, let me know. PayPal only. I need shipment before I mail. I need payment before I mail them. And yeah, I will be back on probably tomorrow with another journal share. I have a super cute puppy journal I made for my sister-in-law. Anyways, I will talk to you all later.